I should start off by saying I'm ashamed of what I'm about to tell you. I told myself I would take it to my grave, but the weight of it is becoming too much for me to bear on my own. I need to share it with someone else, or it will eat me alive. Now, Greg and I weren't bullies. Quite the opposite, in fact. I got beat up pretty frequently, and he took his share of it as well. But there was one kid that even we picked on. Maybe to make ourselves feel better for the crap that we had to take every day. Melvin had a speech impediment, a stutter. Not only that, but he was also always full of joy and excitement, talking constantly and dragging it on forever as he tried to get the words out. He was a know-it-all, a tattletale, all the things that made kids like us who felt down and out want to make him feel the same way. And so we tortured him. Not literally, of course, but we definitely weren't nice. I was much more pleasant with him when we were just on our own, since the two of us were sort of friends in a way that's only possible when you're kids. Adversaries and chums at the time, somehow. But when my friends were around, I joined them in treating him like total shit. The fact that it was such accepted behavior within my social group made it feel we weren't even doing anything wrong by treating him so poorly. One time, Greg, Ryan, and I called him and told him to meet us at the park. We said he should bring his bike, baseball glove, bat, baseball, basketball, and 2 tennis rackets. Then we hid in the forest and watched, laughing as he rode around the field calling our names, struggling to maintain his balance on his bicycle while he was riding, overloaded with far too many items to carry. Another time, we hid in the tree and did something similar. We watched him a few short feet away as he looked for us, passing by beneath us and asking my brother where we had gone. That time, I actually felt bad and climbed down after a little while and told him we had just been kidding around. Greg was pissed off at me for not keeping the prank going. The kid was gullible, so we would mess with him again and again. It was almost too easy. Once, my brother made a phony Visual Basic computer program. It was the 1990s, the age of the dial-up modem, BBS, bad haircuts, and neon clothing. He set the whole thing up pretty professionally and made it look like the software for the Pentagon. Then we showed it to Melvin, who screamed and ran away horrified when he clicked the fake button to bomb the Middle East and crash stock market. He actually hid under the blankets on my bed, thinking that the police were coming for him. I don't know whose idea it was to go into that forest that day with Melvin. We knew exactly what we were going to do to him out there. The forest was large enough that you could walk for hours through it, and the 3 of us, Melvin excluded, did that all the time. We knew it like the back of our hands and knew that he didn't.
Did you guys hear there's been a wolf seen wandering around the forest?
Greg asked in his most serious voice.
For real?
Melvin asked.
Yeah, man. We better be careful out here. Don't want to run into a wolf in their habitat. They'll eat you alive.
We walked and talked for a while longer until we were at the spot where we had planned to leave him.
I'm gonna go take a leak,
said Greg. He walked off into the woods just as we had talked about. We were at least an hour away from the entrance to the forest, and I believed that Melvin could make it back on his own. We wanted to test that theory, and like I said, I'm not proud of myself. And we wanted him to be scared, that too. The sun wasn't far from the horizon, and it would be setting soon. He had already said he wanted to head back any minute, that his mom had told him not to be late for dinner. Time passed, and for a while we waited in silence. "What the hell is taking him so long?" Ryan said, feigning annoyance. "Screw it, I gotta go too. I'm gonna see what his problem is. Probably taking a dump." He walked off, and I could see Melvin's body language change. I wondered if he knew what was going on. The 2 of us waited in awkward silence for a few minutes. As the time passed, I began to suspect he was not going to let me leave him. He was shifting on his feet and trembling somewhat. He looked scared, and I was starting to feel scared too, as the sun began to go down and the light began to fade. I had watched a movie with Tim Curry playing a certain terrifying clown a couple nights before, and memories of it were still haunting my dreams and waking life. I gotta take a leak really bad, actually. I said, as casually as possible. I wanted to get out of there. I wanted to go home where there was still some light left. The thought of being out in those woods at night suddenly terrified me.
No, you can't leave me alone out here with the wolf.
Man, you'll be fine. It'll just be a minute. I tried to walk away, and he grabbed my wrist, squeezing it tightly.
Don't leave me here, please. Are you guys messing with me again? I don't know if I can find my way back.
I pulled my arm away from him and began to walk quickly in the direction of Greg and Ryan had gone. He hurried after me, shouting at me not to leave him. Just give me a moment alone, will ya? I need some privacy, man. He looked stunned and hurt when I glanced back over my shoulder. His eyes showed that he didn't believe me, but it didn't change the fact that he was listening to me regardless. As I neared the tree line, I expected to see Ryan and Greg waiting for me, getting ready to make a run for it as we had planned. We were going to leave him out in the woods. I'm more than ashamed to admit it. We figured he could find his way back, and we wanted to scare him and to mess with him, but what happened next was not something that could have been predicted. Instead of my friends waiting for me in the trees, there was a clown. His face was painted sloppily with white makeup, and he had red vertical stripes above and below his eyes. His mouth was smeared red, and whatever he had painted it with was still wet. Drool poured down from his lips as he smiled at me from his crouched down hiding place in the foliage. He had on a red and white pinstripe clown outfit, and it was spattered with gore. I saw my friends' bodies then. They had been torn apart, their throats open, and something had been feeding on what was inside. The clown thing in the trees watched me watching him, saw me seeing the bodies of my dead friends, and he giggled, a high-pitched titter like the little girl. I was too stunned to run away at first. Then he stood from his shadowy place and began to take long, stalking strides towards me. His eyes were hypnotic, ancient. They pulled me in like a zoom-in close-up of an actor in a movie, making me want to go towards him. But I tore my gaze away with an effort when I heard Melvin's stuttering voice calling,
What is it? What's wrong?
I turned on my heel and ran. The clown was only a few feet away from me at that point, and he reached out with his long arms and almost grabbed me. My terror was a living thing at that moment, pressing me forward, pushing me from behind, and making me run. But Melvin hadn't seen it yet. The clown thing was just out of his view, hidden behind some trees. When I ran past him, he didn't follow. He just watched, hypnotized, as the thing came around the overgrowth and headed towards him. I was too afraid to look back at first, afraid that if it saw me looking, it would draw me back in towards it with those eyes that had briefly entranced me. The thing was not a person. I knew that much, even as a child. The curiosity became too much to bear when I heard Melvin's screams from behind me as I ran. I turned and saw the clown pulling him apart. He peeled them open like a tree string. He took the pieces from inside of my friend and ate them, swallowing his organs whole. His horrifying eyes glanced up at me as I backed away, and even from a distance, I could feel his power. The thing was made of everything that we were afraid of. Melvin's fear of a wolf that would eat him alive, my newfound fear of clowns. Somehow we had manifested this thing that was intent on destroying us. Maybe this was our punishment for tormenting the poor kid for so long. But then, why did he have to die, and not me? It doesn't make sense. I still can't figure out why I was spared, and why my 3 friends had to die. Maybe now you understand why I was going to take this to my grave with me. Why I was never going to share the story with anyone. But I have to. It helps to get it out. It helps me not to feel so afraid. because when I'm afraid, the things I'm scared of, they get bottled up, and after a while, the pressure begins to feel